Hey gang, as promised on Friday, I said I would make you a quick video to help you with your first FRQ practice that we're doing. We've been talking about types of democracies quite a bit, but reinforcement and repetition is always helpful. So remember, you're writing about did our founders believe in the participatory model, the elite model, or the pluralist model? Okay, you can argue for any of the three. All right, I told you guys this. Neither one is wrong. You just have to make sure you support it with two documents. And it said it gave you Brutus, Federalist 10, or the Constitution to choose from for your first choice. And for your second choice, you could pick one of the others or a document on your own. So I'm going to give you some ideas. And if you put something else, that doesn't mean what you put is wrong, right? It just means you need to make sure you supported it with accurate information from those documents. And remember, you don't really have to quote those documents, just summarize them, because when you actually get to writing an FRQ, you probably won't have memorized quotes from the documents. Maybe a couple, but okay. So one was on Brutus. And remember, Brutus was an anti-federalist. So remember that Brutus was not in favor of the Constitution. And Brutus wrote that the Constitution reduced America, or the colonies or the states, whatever, not the colonies at this point, right? Reduced them to one great republic. Instead of what he wanted to continue as 13 confederated republics. And this constitution created this one supreme government that had absolute and uncontrollable power. And he showed in history, there's never been a really good example of this working. He said, you're trying to make a participatory government, but it's not. He says, look at what happened with the Athenians. Look what happened with ancient Rome. Okay. And as they expanded, right? Look how big Rome got. And as they expanded, they became more tyrannical. And it then became more of a pluralist. And I'm not a fan of pluralist democracies. All right. What's going to happen is that when you have a pluralist country, there's going to be a whole lot of people, and there's going to be too many views, and then it's going to be ungovernable. And he wrote that interests of the people should be smaller, like you want smaller groups. And he said, look how big we are, and we're going to continue to expand. So as we continue to expand, it's going to become pluralist, and I'm not a fan. Okay, and remember, we said this is pretty much the opposite of what Madison said in Federalist 10. He said, no, like this pluralist thing is good because you're going to have lots of different factions, and competing factions will prevent tyranny and it will prevent one group from dominating. Okay, now also think, what is the Constitution? Now, I've seen the Constitution argued as in favor of participatory, pluralist, and elite, right? And honesty, we're a blend of three, right? So how can you say the Constitution is pluralist? Well, not in the original document, but in, once you get the amendments, the freedom of religion, right? Religion often causes interest groups, right? How often do religious groups try to put some of their influence in the government, right? Well, gosh, we'll talk about that with current events, I guess, in class, as it's been relevant again lately. Right? Maybe you can say just the elected, the system, right, of the different branches of power. I think that's a stretch, but I've seen that argued as a pluralist. But definitely, Federalist 10 definitely supports pluralism because the competing factions prevent one group from dominating. So it's sort of like the opposite of Brutus. Now, what about elite? I know a lot of people are choosing elite. That is fine as well. So I wanted to, pluralist and participatory, I think, are easy to write off the bat. So what about elite? We already discussed that the Electoral College is an example of elite democracy, so you can just write that. All right. This would be an outside document. A lot of people say that Hamilton favored elite democracy. Here's the problem. A lot of people say that because they say that's just how he was. What document proves that he thought this? That's harder to come by. So you want to be careful with that. But this is one that's used sometimes. It's from a letter in 1777. So this is still like, way before the Constitution, that he wrote to Gouverneur Morris. Now, Gouverneur Morris, remember, he's like that drama guy from the Constitutional Convention. Like, he's the guy that like really angered George Washington when he like slapped him on the back, and he's the one that like got his leg run over when he had to escape that lady's husband. Yes. So Hamilton wrote to him and he said, when the deliberative or judicial powers are vested wholly or partly in the collective body of the people, you must expect error, confusion, and instability. So like if you have a participatory government where everyone's giving their 2 cents, you're going to have all these problems. But a representative, I can't talk tonight, democracy, where the right of election is well secured and regulated, and the exercise of the legislative, executive, and judiciary authorities is vested in select persons, chosen really and not nominally by the people, will, in my opinion, be most likely to be happy, regular, and durable. So if you wanted to say Hamilton supported elite democracy, you could say in his 1777 letter to Gouverneur Morris, he said that when you have all the people involved, it's going to cause, and this is probably something you could remember, error, confusion, and instability. Okay. Then lastly, Federalist 10. Now this is for you to think outside the box a little bit. Federalist 10 is most often used to support pluralist. Right? Some people will say it also supports elite. All right. He wrote, this is our buddy Madison, does the advantage consist in the substitution of representatives whose enlightened views and virtuous sentiments render them superior to local prejudices and schemes of injustice? In other words, we need these elite people with enlightened views who are superior and know better than like the local Joe Schmoes who put them in office. Do they have enlightened views because they are educated? Okay, so something to keep in mind. All right, so like I said, if you wrote something completely different, that doesn't mean like, oh no, I have to redo it. No, this is if you're still struggling and you're looking for some guidance. Okay, I like to end my videos for this year of what am I reading. So right now I'm reading Clover Adams, A Gilded and Heartbreaking Life by Natalie Dykstra. Those of you that know, I've been writing on Ulysses Grant. Ulysses Grant, some of his reputation that was scarred was done so by Henry Adams. And Henry Adams was from the Adams family, not the TV show, but John Quincy Adams was his grandfather, and John Adams was his great-great-grandfather. Clover Adams was his wife. And it says heartbreaking life because unfortunately she eventually commits suicide. And this is a biography all about her. And it's been very good. I'm very captivated by it. You see the photo on the left. Photography was very new during her adulthood. She really got into photography. Her and Henry had up to 4 Yorkies, you see there. Whenever she's photographed, you never really see her face. It's sort of sad. I think she had some insecurity about her long nose and never really revealed her. You only see like her face in photos as a child. And that picture on the right is at her grave in Washington. And there's that artwork there titled Grief. And that's what her husband Henry had commissioned for her after her death. So where I'm at now is actually about her hobby with photography. Photography was very new and she really got into it. And photography at this time was often something that was done by the wealthy women of the time, right? She came from a wealthy family, so did Henry, and they lived a life of luxury and never had any want. But photography was not considered an art because it was dominated by women. and like how could something that women do be considered an art. So just talk about different sexist ideas over the time. All right, hope that helped today. If you have any questions, let me know.